Hello, everyone, and welcome to Intentional Conversations podcast. I am Dr. Nika White, and my pronouns are she, her. I am the founder and lead principal consultant for NWC, Nika White Consulting, and we're so glad that you're here with us for the Intentional Conversations podcast. This is our 5th-year anniversary of bringing this virtual learning experience to the broader community, and we could not be here for 5 years if it weren't for the support of each of you, and we do admire and honor you for being a part of our community. So let the conversation today begin. We are going to spend some time talking with a great co-host I cannot wait to formally introduce momentarily, but I just want to take a moment to invite you to settle into this virtual learning space. We have people that are part of our community that not only are here live as part of Zoom, but also we go live on LinkedIn. And so for those of you who are joining us by LinkedIn, I want to make sure that you know we are connected as one big community. So go to the chat session, the comments, let us know where you're joining the conversation from, any thoughts, sentiments, affirmations, place them into the comments. My team is watching that closely and bringing it into the Zoom chat so that we all can be connected. Would love to know where each of you are joining the conversation from. It's always a treat for us at NWC to see the many different geographies that are being represented across the US and even beyond. And so thank you so very much for being here with us today. I also want you to know that at NWC, we truly value disability inclusion, and as such, we have enabled the closed caption feature for those who will find that as a way to enhance your experience during today's intentional conversation. Not to worry, because if you have to miss this particular session or you want to be able to replay it, then we do have several options for that. We make all of our Intentional Conversations podcasts available by replay on our YouTube channel. The team will drop that link into the chat in the comment section. And we also extract the audio and we make the show available in podcast capacity for wherever you like to get your podcast content. So once again, I hope you enjoy the show. This is Intentional Conversations, and we're so glad you're here. Welcome. Let the conversations begin indeed, and that is precisely what we are about to do. If you are not familiar with us and you're just tuning in, this is Intentional Conversations, and I am Dr. Nika White. One of the things that we love to do at the start of our weekly Intentional Conversations podcast is just to remind you of some of the national observances that are taking place. We're in the month of July, and July is Disability Pride Month, so we want to lift that up. We want to make sure that you are finding ways to amplify the message of standing in solidarity with the LGBTQIA community, and especially those who are people with disabilities as part of this community. And so not just in July, but all year long. Also want you to know that July is BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month, and we know that the challenges, the struggles, the lived experiences often of BIPOC individuals are ones that can be complicated and complex. And so standing in solidarity and with connectedness and community is so critical to make sure that we are leaning into all the ways that allows us to have mental strength. And so I want to make sure that I amplify this message as an awareness opportunity for each of us throughout the month of July and beyond. One of the things that we like to do at NWC is make you aware of some of our service offerings that we feel are really valuable. And so we are specialists in the area of communities of practice. We think that these cohorts are really critical for peers to learn with and from each other. And we have 4 that are already designed and ready to go to be implemented in your organization. The first is the emotionally regulated leader. We need for us to be embodying all of the ways in which allows us to show up really strong in the workplace, especially during those times of volatility, uncertainty, and ambiguity. And so one of the ways that we found to be really valuable is to help us to understand how can we regulate our emotions and see that as a leadership imperative for leading teams. Also, storytelling is a way to deepen our connection, inclusion, and change, to facilitate and foster change in organizations. So we have a community of practice around that topic. And then also future-proof leader. How do we make sure that we are preparing ourselves to go into the future, knowing that there's so much ahead of us that we don't even know to anticipate for, but there are some attributes and skill sets that we can prepare ourselves to be upskilled around to make sure that we are best positioned to lead teams as a future proof leader. And then last but not least, Boundless. This is a women of color program that allows women of color to connect in safety and community to support each other through empowerment, wellness, and leadership. So I encourage you all to reach out to us. We'll place some links into the chat. We'd love to have a discovery conversation to share more about these community of practices, as well as to discuss maybe a specially custom curated content community of practice that we can bring to your organization. I mentioned before Boundless, I do want you to know that right now we're in the process of rounding out our cohort for Boundless. And so that deadline is quickly approaching on the 15th. And so I invite you to scan that QR code or visit boundless.nikawhite.com to learn more and register and share it with others in your network that you think would gain value from this experience. And now finally, by way of another service offering, storytelling as part of a cultural framework is something that we deeply believe in. So much so that not only do we have a community of practice around this topic, but we also have a methodology that we use where we work closely with organizational leaders to help embed storytelling into the culture of the organization across all areas of operation. So I hope that you will see this as something that piques your interest, because we would love to be in conversation with you about how you can bring this to your organization. Now, it does me great pleasure to reach the moment in time in today's podcast where I get the honor of introducing formally our guest co-host. We never take it lightly when someone says yes to our invitation, and as such, we want you all to know the accolades, the credentials, the experiences in which our guest co-hosts show up to the conversation with. So today will be no different, and we do that by reading the individual's bio. So allow me to do that at this time. So Valarie Sandjivy is an adaptive leadership mentor and business coach with over 20 years of experience. As the founder of Ellipus, she helps executives, C-suite leaders, and entrepreneurs to lead with emotional intelligence, adaptability, and innovation. Valarie's unique method combines self-leadership, emotional mastery, and soul care to break through limitations and drive sustainable growth. She combines her corporate experience with creative, intuitive approach to leadership, helping clients build scalable systems while fostering personal and professional transformation. With a deep commitment to evolving leadership and empowering others, Valarie inspires lasting and meaningful change in both business and life. And so I hope that you will find those accolades, those words of affirmation, the emojis, the reactions, anything that you can, and allow me to welcome our guest co-host for today. I'm going to add her to the spotlight as I stop sharing my screen. And I first just want to extend my welcome to you, Valarie. Thank you so very much for saying yes and being here with us today. And also, we do have a tradition here. So before I release you to greet this audience in your own way, I will ask that you share something with us that we would not know about you from reading and hearing your bio, which we've just done, or from looking at your LinkedIn profile. So welcome, Valarie. So glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you, Nika, for having me in the show. And thank you for the nice introduction. So something that people wouldn't find on my bio is like I've visited over 30 countries in my life, and within the United States, over 20 states. And when I say visited, it's not only passing through, really been in 20 different states. So like over 30 countries. And because I love to travel, first of all, and I traveled a lot for work and when I was in the corporate organizations, and still now because I love to work on a personal level as well. So I think it's a lot, I think, in a way, because I was sharing with another person, they told me like 35, so I'm rich, I'm going there, in terms of number of countries. So that's the first thing. I like to put myself in different type of environment to see the culture, to see what it is. And there is another thing I'm doing, so I'm sharing too, if you allow me, Nika. It's like I like to put myself in environment where I can, see where I can face my fear. So let's give me an example. I put myself like I do the walk on the fire, and I put myself, in ice water, just to know like how can I, stretch my ability to be in a difficult environment. So that's the two things I wanted to share, if it's okay.
I'm so glad you shared that. That really resonates with me. And I love the commitment that you have to giving yourself that full experience by even, being brave and courageous enough to go through those exercises. I think that sometimes we may, in sentiment and in our hopes, wishes, and desires, to want to better ourselves and, really see ourselves as being able to navigate different experiences, but to go through the exercise of identifying these activities that help strengthen our mental capacity for them is really admirable. So I just wanted to lift that out. So thank you so much for sharing that. And wow, your travel experience is so vast, and I am so glad to hear that that's part of how in which you like to show up to the world, is finding yourselves in different spaces and places where you can learn of the culture and really experience the people, and I think that's beautiful. I just returned from almost 2 weeks, from 10 days in Ghana, and it was a life-changing experience. And so as you were talking about your travel, it really resonated with me. And I hope to be able to do more of it as well. And so,
I'm
so
sure you
thank
will.
you. Thank
I'm
you.
sure you will.
I'm not, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm actually wearing the
Yeah,
Ghana
yes,
shirt.
you're
That
wearing
literally,
it.
it is, yeah, it really was a life-changing experience, and I cannot
Yes.
wait to go back. I loved everything about it. Okay, so I want to jump right in.
Okay.
And Valerie, I know that your leadership journey spans over 2 decades, a lot of rich experiences. Can you share a pivotal moment that significantly shaped your philosophy on leadership?
Yes. So actually, I spent 2 decades of leadership because I spent 20 years in different corporate settings, but I've been on my own in my own business for the past 12 years. So overall, I'm already having like over 30 years of experience.
Yes.
So I would say like the pivotal moment. I mean, there are many, of course, in on a life path. But if I have to share one, is when I realized like what's the big difference when you are in corporate settings where you are an employee, where you have someone above you, which I never find it was an issue to have someone as a boss or anything, and when you are alone on your own business, is really the capacity is to realize the capacity that we need to stretch our capacity to hold more. And that
Oh, yeah.
was very important, and that's something I'll always share with my clients today is like to be in this position of leadership, to be the position of CEO, to be doing your own business, is really to how to stretch the capacity to hold more, because there will be so much more than your where you are good at. You have, where you have to take care of the business, you have to take care of the salary, you have to take care of the different discussions, you have to make, sales calls, you have to, there is so much you have to do when you are on your own. So it's really this ability. And that's when I learned it when I switch it from different corporate settings to being an entrepreneur on my own.
No, I love that. And I'm so interested. I want to kind of stay here for a moment because, first of all, I'm all about words and language. And you said, to increase our capacity to be able to hold more. And I want to unpack that a little bit further so that we have a clear understanding of what does that look like in practice? What does that mean in terms of how you define holding more from a leadership perspective and how we're kind of showing up to the world?
Definitely, and I love this question because I try always to bring into my clients and to the people I speak to. It's like, what is the difference? Usually, I start like this: what is the difference between someone who is a CEO of a big corporation or even a small one, and someone who is an employee? And I'm not saying that it's bad to be an employee or it's bad to be anything. We are what we are, and this is our journey. So
Sure.
the main difference is the one who is, at this CEO level within a big corporation, or even if you are on by yourself, it's like you have to be able to hold different discussion. You have to be able to be with your own emotional journey, because there is so much emotion when you are building a business or when you are like leading people. You have to be able to have tough discussion. You have to be able to be in this uncertainty that the world is in uncertainty zone. So you have to be able to still walk with the uncertainty. You have to be able to see stuff with a different perspective and to bring still innovation when we feel that there is no more innovation. You have to be able to give answer to your team when you have a team. You have to be able to foster growth for the team. And you have to be able to have like a conversation every 5 minutes, basically. So
Yes,
that's
yes.
what it
Okay,
is.
so that's really helpful, Valarie, and thank you for expounding upon that. I think what's coming up for me is that you shared your definition as you were unpacking holding more from the perspective of being an entrepreneur, a business owner, even like someone that may be in that C-suite level role that has a great deal of responsibility under their purview. And really you compare that to an employee that, could just be kind of navigating, how do I just have income to be able to support my family? And I don't have maybe all of these other deep and responsibilities. And as a small business owner, what resonates with me is that I often talk about the weight of entrepreneurship. And to me, that gets to your point and explanation of what holding more means. I don't think that entrepreneurship is necessarily for everyone. And to your point, that's okay. But for those who decide to be on this journey, I do think that it requires a certain mindset of depth around being able to use your language, hold more, because
Mhm.
there is a higher weight and level of responsibility with that. So, what I would love to do is stay on this topic just for another
Yes.
moment, because I'm also keenly aware that being in those very important roles where you're holding more and the weight is really heavy, that sometimes if we aren't careful, we may not lean into all the ways in which we need to be prioritizing our own self care, our
Mhm.
own mental capacity to have mental strength as we're navigating the complexity of these additional responsibilities. And, there's a big call right now for the rest revolution, right? To make sure that we're not allowing the fact that we are prioritizing rest and well being as being seen as weakness and not really being as committed to our roles as entrepreneurs, business owners, leaders. And so, how do you reconcile those two important concepts of holding more,
Mhm.
as well as making sure that we are doing it in a very healthy way relative to the wellness aspect?
Yes, and I think first of all we need to change the narrative. We need to change the
Mm,
narrative. Is like it's not because you are leading a company or you are a leader of a vision, or, or even on non-profit. You can be leaders in every kind of aspect. We need to change the narrative first of all. Is like if you are a leader, it doesn't mean that you are not human. We need to change that
yes.
narrative already, because we are still
Leaders are
human.
human, yes.
We are still human. And what does it mean? Basic human needs is like you need to rest, you need to sleep, you need to eat, you need to take care of yourself. So first of all, change the narrative in your mind that it's not because we are leaders that we are superheroes. When you watch a movie, they never drink, they never rest, and never sleep. It's not us, we are still human. So first of all, I think we really need to change the narrative about that. Second of
Yeah.
all, for me, is how do I, make it work? It's like I said we need to stretch, and the first thing that we need to stretch is, like I said, the ability to hold more. But the first thing that we need to stretch is our nervous system. So it's very much within
Yes.
our body. Within our body, how can my body, sustain more? So if I don't sleep, if I don't eat, if I don't, exercise, I'm not sure that I'm going, to be able to hold more. The body is going to collapse at one point, and nobody wants, to collapse. So first of all, we need to take care of ourselves with the body. So is my body, what does my body want? So if now it might be a rest of 20 minutes, because then I will be more efficient. So it's really to take care, first of all, and this is even the major one. How do I take care of my nervous system? Because if I'm able to hold more with my nervous system, then my nervous system is not going to collapse. And that's why I'm putting myself in those type of environment, the firewalk and the ice bath, and being traveling all the time. Is because then you put yourself in the ability to stretch your nervous system. And when, like for example, like I did an experience where I was not drinking for 36 hours. I'm not saying that I recommend that. I'm just saying I did this experiment to see where my body was starting, to say, hey, here it's okay. This is not okay. To see where are my limits. I need to know my limits because then I go to sleep. Then you have to work on. So nervous system is one. I want to bring three things. So nervous system is one. Take care of your nervous system. Then you will be able to hold more. Second of all, that you have to take care of is your emotions. We said from the beginning we are still human. So if you are still human, we still have emotions. So meaning that we have to find ways to be able to take care of those emotions. Okay, okay. So
Mm,
there is a whole topic about that. We can dive in if you want to. And then there is, the mental health, which is, sometimes, I just need Nobody around me, nobody speaking to me because, I want to process and I want silence. Because, we go to so
Yes.
many meetings, so many calls, so many podcasts, so many things for you, like because you are on everywhere. So we need sometimes, silence. And so many things are happening in the silence. The mind is not, you know, working. So we need a silence. So if I'm able to find within my day, within my weeks, within my month, within the year, times to allow the stretch of my nervous system, taking care of my emotions, and be able to put my mind at peace and being in this reflective mode and contemplation, then already, I'm good to take care of myself
Yes.
if I do that. And I do that, if I want, if I may, I can add some, like, give some tips, to the audience if you want to. But if you want to jump in and say something, I'm ready. Both ways are good.
No, we would love some tips, but I want to first just kind of respond to what you just shared because I was really excited for today's conversation. You may have heard from the beginning as I was talking about these communities of practices and how I really am about helping people to become emotionally regulated leaders, and that does mean stretching our nervous system and first and foremost being very much attuned to what's happening within our nervous system and using that as signs to ask questions and to investigate why so that we can then, apply whatever kind of shifts that may be necessary for us to show up whole and healthy and at our best. And so I love the experiments that you do within, your own body and your own self to be able to kind of test those limits. And you mentioned silence. I think that sitting in silence is something we don't do as often, but with all of the noise that are coming at us, to your point, that is such a great practice. One of the things that I love to do is I'm not a long distance driver, but about 4 hours is my limit. Before then, I'm going to get on a plane. But anyway, those, 3 to 4 hours when I am driving, I find that just driving in silence is one of the most fulfilling things to just clear my mind and to just be one with self. And so anyway, I really do resonate with what you're sharing in terms of all the different ways in which we need to balance the two of holding more while yet and still understanding that our wellness is really critically important. And so this is probably going to get to some of the tips that you're going to share with us. But you founded your company, and correct me, I want to make sure that I'm saying the name of your company correctly. Is it Ellipus or Ellipus? Say it for us.
It's ellipsis.
Ellipsis. Okay,
Yes.
ellipsis. Okay, ellipsis. So you founded Ellipsis, and as I shared when I was reading your bio, that mission is to blend emotional intelligence, adaptability, and innovation. And so I want you to share what inspired this unique intersection and how it shows up in your work. And that's where I believe that perhaps some of those tips are going to come forth, and as you share this with us, Valarie. So go right ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So we are in a world that is always going to change. I mean, like, look at the season. This is July season, we are in the summer, almost not the peak, but the summer is starting. And then there will be fall and winter. Okay, there is night and days, So, and then we sleep and then we are awake. So it's all about cycles. And all those
Mhm.
of the cycles, it's like driven by nature, with the moon and the sun and everything. So within us, we are as well in a cycle, and we need to be able to adapt ourselves with those cycle. The life is
Yes.
producing cycle, energy is cycle, as well. So the moment that I'm able to adapt myself to those cycles and to the environment I am in, because the world is going to change all the time. That there is a big thing on AI right now. So we need to get adaptive
Yes.
to that. Not that
Yes.
it's good or bad, because that's going to be an opinion. We can like it or not like it. That everybody can have their own opinion, and it's okay. But how can I adapt myself? How can I adapt my business? Because if we don't adapt, then we are going to collapse. I like to give, the example, sometimes, you live in the city. I live in the city. I live in Paris, and there is so much concrete, everywhere, and we have gardens as well. And sometimes you see those little flowers, or grass growing up, in the middle of the concrete, and you wonder how can it happen, because there is only concrete here. So it means
Yes.
that nature adapt itself as well to be able to still grow. So within this world of it's changing, it's never going to be the same. So how can I adapt myself? Because we are going to be the stronger if we adapt ourselves. So to be strong is
Yes.
to be able to adapt to what life is showing to you. And me, I'm very much about what is life telling me right now? What are the signals that life is telling me? And how can I adapt to those signals instead of resisting to the signals? And if I adapt to the
Yes.
signal, then I'm moving, night and days, rest and work and season, the different season, the 4 seasons that we have. So it's going with the nature instead of going against the nature.
Yes.
That's what it is for
Yeah.
me, very much to be adaptive. And
Yeah.
we need that all the time. So
Yeah, agility, adaptability is something that we're hearing from organizations time and time again, especially right now in this climate that's needed in terms of upskilling individuals who are people leaders within the organizations. And I think that's part of, again, that future-proof leadership mindset. How are we understanding ways and strategies and have tools at our disposal to be able to be much more adaptable, knowing that there's this ever-changing landscape that we are living in. And so I appreciate that. I want to talk about the emotional mastery and
yes,
again stretching our nervous system
yes,
with self-leadership. We talk
definitely.
about leadership and most often we equate that to leading others, but leading
Yeah.
ourselves is equally important. So let's just spend a moment or two on what does it mean to lead oneself and to do it well, and why is that critical for executive roles?
Definitely. In the 4 pillars of the practice I'm doing, it's like the first one is to lead ourselves, because
Yes.
even going to the second, sorry, pillars, which is leading other, we need to lead ourselves. And
Yes.
part of leading ourselves is part of how do I deal with my emotions and how do I become, a master within the emotions. I'm not saying, emotional intelligence or emotional resilience for leaders is as to be the next level, which is emotional mastery. So what does it
Yes.
mean, emotional mastery? It's like everybody has emotions, that's a given. And the thing is like, how can I how am I able to take care of my emotions, not necessarily at the minute this emotion is showing up within a conversation that I'm having, either with a team member, either with a complete team, either with another leader, either with someone else, my boss, my own CEO, or anybody, or even, in the street with someone. So it means that we are going to be triggered by people sometimes.
Yeah.
It happens. And for us leaders is how am I able to recognize, to notice, to be aware that I am triggered right now, and not necessary to take that the effect of the trigger, which is usually an emotion or a reaction, on the person who is talking to me right now, because it has nothing to do with this person.
Yes.
So how can I do that? It means that, okay, I have to notice that I am triggered, but now I'm not going to entertain the emotions that is right now here. But I'm not going as well to put a cap and say that it doesn't exist. I did that a long time in my life, to put a cap and say, no, it doesn't exist, I'm fine. No, both are not okay. So I'm still having this conversation. I'm triggered. Okay, I'm noticing that I'm triggered, but I'm not going to say, okay, this is because of this person. No, this person was just the messenger telling me, okay, Valerie, there is something still here lingering. Okay, so I put it on the side because I park it, a minute, because I can't, deal
Yes.
it with it. Then when the conversation is finished, then I go, it can be within the day, it can be within the week, or, not to, don't wait for too long. And I'm going, to dive within this emotion and say, I don't have to go to see necessarily a therapist. I can. Everything is okay. Everybody can help. And I think the thing is, what was happening and what was the emotion? And then I can, see if the emotion is gone, because it can be, already gone, or if the emotion got entangled with the mind talking. No, because usually that's what it is. So there is an emotion, and then there is the mind telling the little story that, this person did that to you. It was not very respectful. It might sometimes be like this. And this happened, when you were a teenager and at school, and it's happening again. You see, that's a problem. Okay, that's the story of the mind. So we need,
Yes. Yes.
first of all, to disentangle both of them, because then the
Yes.
emotion will go fast, and then we can take care of that. because that's the
Yes,
story we
that's
don't want to get rid of.
Oh, absolutely. So that's part of our ability to train ourselves to take control of our emotions. And we have to first allow the emotions to come.
Yes.
Let's acknowledge the emotions, right?
Yes.
Because if we don't acknowledge them, they're really just messages to let us know that something is happening that's impacting our nervous system, and we need to
Yes.
unpack what that is. And
Yes.
so what you're referring to as emotional mastery, I often refer to as emotional regulation, right? I think that
Mhm.
sometimes to master it can be a little bit of a misnomer, because sometimes we may not get it right.
Yes.
Sometimes we may have to just pull out our tools out of our toolbox, whether
Yes.
that's therapy, whether that's breathing, whether that's, just kind of recounting and tracing back, where is this, these thoughts coming from? Is there truth rooted in it? Or really, to your point, Valarie, is this something that I'm just triggered by because I'm inferring meaning from maybe some other kind of experience with someone else, some other circumstance? And so I'm loving this conversation. I do believe that it's part of probably what you referred to as soul care. When I was
Yes.
reading your bio, I love that language, but soul care and the context of leadership, when we are thinking about how do we lead ourselves in order to be able to lead others, especially from, again, that executive leadership level. And I want to talk about this concept relative to high performing leaders.
Mhm.
There are a lot of individuals who may classify themselves as high performing, and that becomes the litmus test upon which they kind of govern their success by. And that can be, there's some pros and cons to that, right? We want people to feel like they're driven enough to kind of reach those goals, but there are also some barriers that those individuals who are considered high performers can face. And so, how do you help them move past those obstacles?
For me, there is two different things. There is high performance, and there is like, how can I put it? It's like high performance doesn't necessarily go with overdoing. For me, it's two
Hmm.
different things, and I think sometimes there is a mix-up, with the overachiever overdoing, which is sometimes linked to high performance. So where we need to unpack that, it means we can be high in very much in high performance, but it doesn't mean that I'm overdoing. Actually, it's not the case. High performance,
Yeah.
usually comes because you are able to connect as well yourself to what is here right now, like in the minute that we are talking right now, what is coming up to me, because I'm very much attuned to what you are telling me. I'm not thinking about what is happening, in a few minutes later on. I'm not thinking about the next question that might, pop up. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to have for lunch or dinner. I'm right here with you. And only by that, I'm already, in high performance because I'm 100% present to the conversation. And because I'm there, then I can look to your body language. And just before I said, I didn't go further because I said I knew that you had a question, you wanted to comment. Could see from your body language. So I said I could, speak for another 5 minutes, so I can let her in. And I choose to do that. Like you could have said, okay, no, Valerie, keep going, and I'm fine. I will, but I'm offering, that. And to be that is I have to be present. And because I'm present
Yes.
and I'm not distracted, that's why I'm becoming high performant. So it's not,
Yes. Yes.
to
Presence.
overachieve.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's to be here 100%. And there is so many distraction. There is so many distraction, the noise, the phone, the pop-ups, like we have so many distraction. The world. I heard the other day someone was telling me, before I could focus in a meeting for 1 hour, now I can't focus more than 20 minutes. And I say, oh, I wonder why
Yes.
you are saying
And
that.
that's about that self leadership,
Yeah,
knowing ourselves, right?
yeah,
Because we're observant, we're paying attention, and we're using that as information to help govern ourselves accordingly to
yeah.
be able to, again, show up as our best selves. I love the connection point between high performance and presence, being present, and the fact that you have amplified that high performance is not overdoing. And I do believe that that is a big mistake that many people make. And so I'm appreciative of that distinction. I want to make sure that in the limited time that we have left, we can get through a couple other topics. And so,
Please.
Valerie, I'm going to maybe treat these next few moments as almost like a lightning flash round, so I can get your response to a few
Fine.
additional questions that are I'm really curious about, and I'm sure our community is curious about as well. One one of the things that you do well is you bridge corporate strategy with intuition, creative tools. And so, how do you balance data-driven decision making and soul-centered or intuitive guidance? Because you tend to coach people around those balancing the two incredibly well. I would love for you to give us some quick tips around that.
Yeah. First of all, for me, they are not disconnected. They are not disconnected is because for me, like I'm going to give my own example, and that's why I'm helping, not helping because I don't feel that I'm helping. I'm showing to my clients how to do it because they know, everybody knows. It's like, how can I, listen to all the parts of me? Because there is a part of me, and every leaders, when you speak with them, they all recognize this part. When you are in the shower, you have these big ideas. When you are driving, like in silence, to go from in the commute, what that you are doing, where you are playing, golf or you are going to the gym, then that's when the ideas is coming. And why is coming now when you're not in front of your computer thinking of the next best innovation that you want to bring in your business? Is because you put at rest your mind so something else can come up. If I still focus, on the mind, and everybody does that, you're in front of your computer, you want to make the next best idea, you want to have your team, working on the next best things, you want to compete with your competitor and have, to be the first one. It's not in front of your computer that is coming. It's when you go out, you go for a coffee, and then you come back. And then because you have, you put fresh air, in the mind. The mind
Hmm.
is the one keeping you in the loops. And actually, to connect all the parts, we need to give a space for the intuition to come in. And then once the intuition is here, then you will be able to put, to to um to put in process, to put in action everything that the intuition gave you, and to bring your mind, because then you will need your mind to put the things, to take the next steps. And then because you do that, you follow. And I've been doing that all of my life, in my career path. I say, okay, I never looked for a job. It was always showing up, in my field. But
Yeah.
why?
Yeah. No,
Why?
that's great. I
It's
love
like
that
clients,
example.
I never did a sales pitch, never in my life.
Yes.
Clients are showing up.
Yes.
Why? Why is it like this?
Yeah.
Because it's the difference between overthinking, overdoing, thinking that I haven't done enough, and letting something which is bigger than us, and we all know that there is something bigger than us. Our mind thinks, in a square like this, and there is a bigger perspective that we are not connecting to. And if I can connect to this bigger perspective that I don't know all the steps to, then something is going to happen. And it's how do I connect both of them? Because people think
Yes.
that when I say that, sometimes very few people say, but does it mean that I'm not doing anything all day long? I say, no, I never said that. I never said that you are
Yes,
staying.
absolutely. Yeah.
Never said that.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes we have to redefine how we are thinking about rest time and just time to kind of collect our thoughts and be centered and grounded. That is productive time, although we may not, see it that way. Again, it's part of changing that narrative. And so, okay, so a couple more lighting round kind of questions. And I want to ask, what do you personally do to stay grounded and aligned when you do such deep transformative work? Give us your quick kind of 20-30 second response to that.
Yeah, me, I stay grounded because I cultivated the thing of presence. When I'm here, I'm grounded, my feet
Presence.
are on the ground, I'm listening to you, and then I don't allow my mind to go any places.
Yes, I
And
love
if it
it.
does, I come back.
Awesome. Stay grounded. Yes, I love it. And so when we talk about transformation, right, that is a big word. And so I would love for you to again give us a kind of a quick response to what does meaningful transformation look like for a leader or organization, particularly in today's fast evolving world. What can people expect?
We are transforming all the time, all the time. It's like, for me, it's like thinking that there is no transformation. It's wrong. We are transforming all the time. So it means, am I resisting the change or am I accepting the change? It's a
Oh,
different
yeah.
perspective. Am I against, I always say, I'm not against anything. I'm for something. And I need to
Yeah.
find out what I am for.
Yeah. Am I resisting or am I accepting it? I love that. That's again a part of that adaptability that we
Yes.
talked about as a key focus area during this ever-changing, world that we live in. And by the way, you're joining the conversation today from Paris, I believe. And so I just want to lift that out. Thank you so very much. Okay, so this is like our final question for today before I'll give you just a moment to close this out in whatever way that feels appropriate. But what intentional conversations, pun intended here, do you believe, Valarie, leaders need to be having more often with themselves, with their teams, and with their communities? What are those conversations?
For me, the leader with themselves, they need to be to have contemplations time. What happened? What are the
Yes.
signals? What is the market is saying? Not only the signal, from the news, but my own signals in my own field. What is happening in my field? What is happening in my company? With my team, I need to have the conversation of how do we grow together? How do we become innovative? How do we allow pivotal moments? How do I allow that? And telling them that we are always going to grow. It's not going to be a flat curve. And as well, leaders with the leaders is how do we keep, I should say that this way, how do we keep moving in this uncertain world?
Yes.
Because
Don't
that's what
stop.
it
Just
is.
keep moving. I love that. Yes. So great level of curiosity and interrogation of our own
Always,
minds, our own thinking, our own behaviors and
always.
habits. That is really a great practice. And I think that we all can learn something from that. So
Yes.
I want to just take a moment to thank you. I want to thank this community for showing up. I hope that you have found this conversation to be enlightening. And if so, feel free to share it out with others in your network. Again, they can catch the replay or the podcast, wherever they want to get their podcast content. And we're so grateful. I want to give you a moment to close us out with some final words in whatever way that feels appropriate to you. And I also want to thank you again for sharing with our community, Valarie. We're really grateful for your time today. So I'll turn it over to you to close us out.
Thank you, Nika. If I give a last piece of advice, look around you, you will have all the info that you are looking for. Look around you.
Mm,
It's in the details. We say always, the devil is
yes.
in the details, but not only the devil. The information is in the details as well. So that's the last thing I want to say.
Yes.
And I want to say that I offer as well a free assessment for leadership, on the 4 pillars I spoke about, how to
Okay.
lead ourselves, how to lead others, the emotional mastery, the soul care, which are the 4 pillars, which are the foundation. And once this foundation is in place, then something else can happen. This something else is able to arrive because the foundation is solid. But we need to have a foundation
Yes.
which is a solid foundation. And then the fifth, that I don't name, really, it's coming in because there is something to hold it. So it's a free
Has to
assessment. You
build on
can
a solid foundation. I love
always,
that. And we are so
yes,
appreciative of free gifts. And so, yes,
yes,
we're going to share the free assessment into the chat and into the comment section so that you all can take advantage of that. And to learn of those 4 pillars, we're also going to make sure that you have Valerie's contact information by sharing her LinkedIn. We're so grateful. We're so grateful. We hope to see you all back again next week for another episode of Intentional Conversations. Be well and be healthy. Thanks again for being with us today. Bye bye.
Thank you, Nika. Thank you.